I definitely parked in the wrong place because the sun is kicking my ass and I'm gonna have this stupid line going here, but whatever, we'll deal with it. I am parked at Whiskey Pete's, which is on the California-Nevada state line, and it is a hotel, casino, truck stop / travel center, that sort of thing, and it looks like a castle, because when you hear the name Whiskey Pete's, castles is definitely what comes to mind. Now, this place doesn't really have anything extraordinary or special about it, except one thing. They have one thing that nobody else on the face of this planet has, and that is exactly what I'm here to show you guys. There are a lot of cool odds and ends to be found inside of Whiskey Pete's, such as this fortune-telling Whiskey Pete. There's also this statue of Whiskey Pete with a placard explaining the name and the story, but I'll get to that in the end. For now, I'm just going to focus on what I'm really here for, but stick around to the end if you are interested in the Whiskey Pete story. What I'm really here for is this. Yes! This is a 1934 Ford Model 730 Deluxe Sedan. This vehicle was stolen from a lady named Ruth Warren in Topeka, Kansas. It was stolen by the infamous Bonnie and Clyde, and this is the very same vehicle they were later killed in. Clyde Barrow had an affinity for V8 engines. He needed the biggest and the fastest, and this Ford Model 730 was one of those. By today's standards, it's a slug, but at the time, it was a fast car. The 3.6-liter V8 engine produced a whopping 85 horsepower and had a top speed of 65 miles per hour, which was much faster than the police cars of the time. This being the vehicle both Bonnie and Clyde were killed in, naturally, it's peppered with bullet holes. Lots of bullet holes. It's estimated that Bonnie and Clyde endured a volley of 150 shots. And that's believable considering just how many bullet holes there are in the body of this car. The official coroner's report stated that Bonnie Parker sustained 26 gunshot wounds and Clyde Barrow sustained 17. Although modern researchers claim those numbers aren't accurate, they claim both Bonnie and Clyde were both hit over 50 times each. Either way, it probably didn't feel good. Practically everywhere you look on this 1934 Ford, there are bullet holes. It even contains its original windows, albeit broken, shattered, and shot through. Apart from the bullet holes, the vehicle looks like it's in relatively good condition, as if you could hop right in and ride off into the sunset with the love of your life, and kill some cops. Because that's what they loved to do. They killed a total of 13 people during their crime spree. But the vehicle isn't the only thing that they have. They also have this shirt, which was worn by Clyde Barrow at the time, and it is completely shredded, as one would expect after getting shot up 17 times or more by high-power rifles. I am assuming that whatever blood was on the shirt was washed off at some point, as it likely would have been absolutely drenched in blood, and I don't think they wanted to put it up on display drenched in all of his blood. Although, that would have been still cool to see. Also on display, they have 3 items that were made by Clyde Barrow, some for Bonnie and some for his sister Marie. I don't know if these items were in the vehicle at the time, but they are on display here. This hand mirror was handcrafted by Clyde Barrow during one of his previous prison stints and was likely given to his love, Bonnie, at some point as a gift. Clyde Barrow also handmade this belt for his sister Marie while he was on the run from the law. It's incredible just how talented Clyde Barrow seemed to be, yet instead he chose to follow a life of crime. This beaded necklace was also handcrafted by Clyde Barrow for his sister Marie while he was serving time in East Ham Prison, which is located in Huntsville, Texas. Also on display are original photos of Bonnie and Clyde and other people, photos that they took during their little adventures and excursions. As an amateur photographer and a lover of photography, especially old original photos, that is fantastic to see. They are definitely a treasure. I can't believe how many times I have been to Whiskey Pete's without ever realizing the cool stuff they have here, although they don't really advertise outside anywhere or on their marquee. On display, they also have this vehicle. It's a 1931 Lincoln, custom built with bulletproof lead-filled doors and glass that is 1 inch thick. It belonged to big-time gangster and mobster Dutch Schultz. After Dutch Schultz was murdered in 1935, the vehicle was used by Al Capone and his mob. After Al Capone met his fate, the vehicle was seized by the Chicago Police Department and put on public auction. Its final resting place is right next to the Bonnie and Clyde car at Whiskey Pete's in Primm, Nevada. As I stated in the beginning of this video, let's go back to Whiskey Pete and what's behind the name. This statue, which isn't an accurate representation as far as I know, is of Whiskey Pete. A plaque in front tells his story, and I'll read that for you now. Whiskey Pete's is a famous hotel casino that is not exactly in Las Vegas, but it's nearly 50 miles southwest of the Strip in Primm, Nevada. Although the casino hotel and its reputed spectral presence did not exist in a physical sense at the same time, it is said to be haunted by its namesake, Pete Mcintyre. Mcintyre was known to all as Whiskey Pete for his less than legitimate business practices. Pete's tale is one of a businessman who fell on hard times and resorted to bootlegging to make a living. During the Great Depression of the late 1920s and early 1930s, he owned a gas station on what is now Interstate 15. But vehicular travel between California and Nevada wasn't exactly a big thing in those days, especially considering the substantial economic decline. Fortunately, he had another talent that made him a lot more money, albeit forbidden by local authorities. Whiskey Pete was a moonshiner. He had several caves in the area in which he distilled his own whiskey and sold it on the sly to discerning locals out of his gas station. Thus, he became known as Whiskey Pete. Although he died in 1933, his presence was so historical in the area that Ernest J. Primm established a hotel and casino in his name in 1977. The area was then known as State Line, but Primm's developments expanded so much that it was renamed Primm, Nevada. It now plays host to Whiskey Pete's, Primm Valley Resort, and Buffalo Bills. As the legend goes, Whiskey Pete requested that upon his demise, he be buried standing straight up with a bottle of his own bootleg moonshine grasped in his hands. Many years later, after Buffalo Bills and Whiskey Pete's were already built, a bridge connecting the two hotel casinos was scheduled to be built. During the construction of that bridge, the workers had the misfortune of accidentally exhuming Whiskey Pete's unmarked grave. It was strongly believed to be the body of Pete Mcintyre for the position in which it was found, upright, bottle in hand. His remains have since been laid back to rest in one of his old moonshine caves in the nearby hills. Ever since the inadvertent exhumation of the moonshiner's corpse, his spirit is said to haunt Whiskey Pete's casino. Time and time again, guests have reported the eerie sensation of being watched while gambling in the casinos. As guests look around to see if anyone is watching, they find an aged man who looks like someone out of an old Western film staring at them. They look away and look back, or simply blink their eyes, and the apparition vanishes. Something else that is really cool is that people tend to throw money and spare change and their tickets from their casino winnings into the Whiskey Pete enclosure, and the casino takes all of that money and they donate it to the Alzheimer's Association, which I think is really cool. There are also reports of the Bonnie and Clyde death car exhibit being haunted by the not-so-departed soul of Clyde Barrow. Clyde and his girlfriend Bonnie were gunned down in the car in Louisiana in 1934. The infamous bullet-riddled death car, along with the shirt Clyde was wearing at the time, are currently exhibited at Whiskey Pete's. We could not dig up any reports of anyone actually seeing the ghost of Clyde Barrow, but some have said they feel an unnerving presence when looking up close at the shirt especially, but also the car. It's certainly not enough information to say the exhibit is haunted, noteworthy at best. There are also rumors that the notorious crime lord Al Capone's famous bulletproof car, also on display at Primm, is haunted. But these speculations warrant a lot of skepticism. This particular car was never involved in any real gunfights. When the owner of the hotel acquired the villainous wheels, he wanted it to look more like an authentic mobster car, so he had it delivered to the back of the hotel and shot it up himself with his own guns. What a dickhead! Okay, so the Al Capone / Dutch Schultz car, those bullet holes or bullet marks in that car, not legit. That was done by the owner of Whiskey Pete's, probably back in, well, not in 1997 or 1977, but whenever he got the vehicle, so he shot it up himself. So that's the actual car, but the bullet marks, not real, never involved in any gunfights. At least they're honest about it in this little pamphlet about Whiskey Pete and the hotel and the casino. Did you like it? Did you? I know I did. I love those kinds of things, those pieces of history, a moment in time that's so powerful and full of so much raw energy, and, you know, 2 people got shot up, like, really bad. They deserved it, so who really cares? But still, it's just a little thing of history to be able to see that with your own eyes, to be just feet away from it. I don't know, I just love those things. It gives me a really, I don't know, powerful feeling. I don't know what to call it, but it's like, I just wish you could go and touch it. I wish I could touch it, stick my fingers in the bullet holes. Why not, right? That would be fun. But I absolutely love seeing things like that. And if you are the type that really likes the American gangster type history, a fantastic movie on Netflix, The Highwaymen. It stars Kevin Costner and Woody Harrelson as the 2 former Texas Rangers that were tasked with hunting Bonnie and Clyde down, and obviously the final climax where they blast the shit out of them, right? And I'll be honest, I felt kind of bad for Bonnie and Clyde because I'm thinking like, man, they didn't even have a chance. But then again, they didn't give their victims a chance, right? They killed 13 people, some of them police officers, obviously attendants and banks, whatever. They killed 13 people, so no need to feel bad for them. They deserve no pity. They wrote the checks that they did, and that's how those kinds of checks get cashed. But I hope you have enjoyed this video, and I'm definitely going to try to make more content like this, because driving all across the United States, I see a lot of cool shit that I want to share with all of you guys. My biggest problem is that a lot of the time I just don't have the time to stop. But from now on, like, if I do have the time, if I have a little extra time, if I have to sacrifice my lunchtime, or I could use that as my lunchtime, I'll snack on a Snickers and take some video. But I will try to make more content like that, where I show you guys cool stuff that I find all over the country. And if you like it, great. If you don't, I don't really care. Anyways, I hope you are all doing well, and I will see you on the next one. And I gotta close up these curtains because this sun is pissing me off.